Good evening and welcome to this new and old Malden Neighbourhood Committee, whether here in person or watching on the webcast. My name is Councillor Leslie Heap and I'm chairing the meeting this evening. In the event of an emergency and the sounding of an alarm, the emergency evacuation procedure is to leave by the main staircase located behind me and congregate at the front of the building. Anyone requiring assistance should remain in their seats and an officer will assist you from the building. This meeting is being filmed for live broadcast on the Council's YouTube channel and an archive version will be available to view on the Council's website after the meeting finishes. The broadcast will be suspended during any adjournments in proceedings and if the committee resolves to consider information as exempt business. Please can everyone present in the meantime turn off their mobile phones or in silent mode. Thank you very much. So, we're just actually waiting for one officer to arrive, but everybody else, I believe, is here. So I'd like to welcome all the councillors here. And if they'd like to, starting with Councillor Coogan, like to introduce themselves quickly to the public gallery. Thank you. Councillor Coogan.
Thank you, Chair. Councillor Coogan, Independent, Green. Thank you.
Councillor
Say your ward as well, thank you.
Coombe Ward, Independent Green, thank you.
Councillor Richard Thorpe, Motspur Park and Old Malden East.
Councillor Andrew Sillett, Coombe Ward.
Councillor Yvonne Tracy, Green Lane and St James Ward.
Councillor James Giles, Independent, Green Lane and St James Ward.
Councillor Lynn Henderson, Motspur Park and Old Malden East Ward.
Councillor Mark Durrant from New Malden Village Ward.
Councillor Lord Kane, New Malden Village.
Oh. Hi. Hi, good evening. It's Elizabeth Park, Old Malden Councillor.
Good evening. Mike Massimi, Old Malden.
Thank you very much. I'd like to also officially welcome Ralph Hyde, who is our new permanent neighbourhood manager, who is sitting on my left. And who will present his manager's report later. We also have a number of officers in attendance. I'm just going to get the names right. It's Stephanie Royston Mitchell, who is at the end, and next to her is Lineker Ederveld, who are going to present the verbal update on antisocial behaviour. And as I say, we're waiting for Eunice Hamadi, the senior engineer, to arrive. So without further ado, we will continue. Yeah. So first of all, we've got public questions. Do we have any questions from members of the public this evening on items that aren't on the agenda? Mr. Rees, would you like to come forward and take a seat? Thank you. Are there any, no green slips? Good evening, Mr. East. Yeah.
Good evening, councillors.
So when you're ready, you can ask your question. There isn't a time limit in particular, is it? Yeah, okay. All right, thank you very much indeed.
Apologies first for not giving you a written question, but I was hoping up until about 6 o'clock this evening that I wouldn't be here, anticipating a phone call giving me some updated information. I refer back to the encroachment on the footpath in Burlington Road, properties 104 Burlington Road, 88 Burlington Road. I was last here on the 13th of March when the highways engineer was present and I understood things were going to be progressed. Close to 7 months on, nothing is happening. I've heard nothing. I made an unofficial approach to the officer to get in touch. He did not. What's happening? Has this committee lost control of the officers? That's the question. Has this committee lost control of the officers? Or has this committee decided to give away the public footpath?
Mr. Rees, I can't answer those questions. Well, I can't answer the second one, and I don't think the first one is correct either. But we will take that away and chase it up. The officers are aware of the question that was asked.
What's difficult? It is owned by the council. It is illegal what they have done. It's encroachment. It would only take one letter from the council solicitor to ask them to remove it.
Just hang on a minute. Ralph Hyde, our manager, is going to explain, I think, has got an update.
Well, I hope so, please.
Hi, Robert. I'm aware of the situation here in my former life as an environmental enforcement officer, and now I've picked up the baton as the Neighbourhood and Communities Manager. What a title. So I've inked the first premises, 88, I think, on the corner.
No, that's 104.
104. I knew I'd get it wrong, but there
Don't
you go.
worry, we all do.
But at least I'm aware of them. 104 has a breach of planning permission.
Yes, the planning does not give you the right to build on other people's land.
I'm trying to give the update.
I had this from the previous officer. Planning only gives you permission if you own the land.
So I will give you the update of the position we're in. I totally accept what you're saying. The position at the moment is I'm querying with planning and building control, and I'm waiting for a response from them as to what action they are going to take concerning that building.
They've already given it. They said they would take none because it was given by planning.
No.
I refer back to an answer that came here before. You're going over and over the same thing. You're going round and round in circles and getting nowhere. I'm sorry, you're new to this at your level.
I'm not new to this environment.
No.
But what I say to sir is it will be actioned.
You're new to this item.
It will be actioned. No, I'm not new. That's what I say. In my former life, I was involved in this. And secondly, on the second premises, at the moment, currently, temporary structures are unlicensed around the borough. Licensing have only just caught up to date on licensing A boards. At the moment, they are dealing with them. They have literally just introduced licenses for A boards. When all the licensing has been completed for A boards, they intend to move to licensing for temporary structures, which this structure is. There are several around the borough, and it would be inappropriate and disproportionate to deal with this one at this present time.
Fair enough, Mr. Hyde. I take what you're saying, and I take it on board. 88, temporary structure, maybe. They took out a council-owned cycle hoop. They just cut it away. Criminal damage, not dealt with. Why not? I put this to Councillor Heap close to 2 years ago, not on the hoop, but the actual encroachment. I can't understand why we're still going round and round 2 years on. And I'm getting, not your fault, I'm getting the same answers that was given 7 months ago and in December last year. I hoped I would never have to come back to this committee, and don't take it personal, but here I am. 2.5 years since I first reported this item. Unfortunately, it was an email to one of our ex-colleagues just before the election. And then it was in September of that year when I emailed the 3 councillors for this ward. 2 years. It took 2 years to get a tree sorted out in our road, and it took a councillor to get it finished. What is happening? I wonder, why do we have a committee if you're not going to work to get things done? It's not the officers' fault, they need direction. And I leave it with you. I'd like to know, when is it going to happen? And on planning, I've had many years of dealing with planning in this borough. And yes, I can get permission to build on this site, but it doesn't mean to say I've got the right to do it. And it's no good in planning asking whether you own the land. They've got to check that someone owns the land. That's a failing in planning. And when enforcement were asked to go and check it, they said, oh, but they've been given the planning permission, therefore we won't enforce it. Someone's hiding the truth. What's going on? I'll leave it to the councillor.
Excuse me. I'd like to say in my defence that all of the emails that I got from officers on the subject, I passed on to you.
You did, and one of them 18 months ago said that the council owned the land, and yet I came here in December to find that they were still trying to find out whether they did.
But I don't have the information from that. The officers
No,
have to come back to
that's
me
right.
and tell us, as Ralph has said. So I'm a bit hands tied there. So with
Eunice isn't here tonight.
yeah, and unfortunately, Yunus Hamadi is not arrived yet.
No.
Perhaps he could have shed some light on the question again, but as I say, he's not here yet.
To be fair to you, Chair, yes, you've always responded to my emails. I haven't always agreed with you, as you're well aware. Basically, you gave me the information, which was the officer's email to you, which accepted it was council-owned land well over a year ago. I'm talking January 2023 from memory. And yet we sat here last December and we sat here in March with the officers telling
Excuse me.
us they didn't know who owned it. Come on, something's going wrong in this system. It needs to be sorted.
Thank you for your question, and I think we have to finish there now. Thank you.
Take it away.
Thank you. We'll take your question
I'd
again.
like to listen to the councillor's question, please.
He's not a member of the public.
No, but he's putting up a question against what I've asked.
Councillor Giles.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm sure we're all irked by the fact that someone's had to come here what ought to have been unnecessarily. Could I ask that an update is circulated with all members of this committee about this situation?
Yes.
Because it's been almost a year since the gentleman first came to this committee, to my knowledge.
Thank you.
Thank you.
The next item is petitions. Have we received any notification of any petitions this evening?
No, Chair.
Thank you. Apologies for absence and substitute members. Are there any apologies for absence?
We've received apologies from Councillor Bolton, Chair.
Thank you. Declarations of interest. Members are asked to declare any disclosable pecuniary interests or any other registered or non-registerable interests relevant to the items on this agenda. Do members have any declarations to make? Please indicate. Councillor Massimi.
Good evening, Chair. Thank you. I wish to inform everyone that I am a member of the Rotary Club. One of the applications they are mentioned as part of a grant. I'm asking if it is fair for me to cast my vote or not. Thank you.
Anybody else?
Yeah, thank you, Chairman. Yeah, I'm also a member of the Rotary Club. So if that case is applied to Councillor Massimi, I will follow the best suit.
Okay. Good evening, Eunice. So,
Do you want me to advise?
yeah, sorry.
As it's a registrable interest, I suggest in this case that you would leave the room for the duration of the debate on that item, as it's the applicant.
Sorry, could you repeat, please? Sorry. I will leave the room when you're actually voting on it, yeah?
Yes.
Sam will
yes.
inform you.
Yeah, that's
You-
perfect.
You,
Yeah,
can,
thanks.
you can make comments.
I can make comments, but I will not vote.
But you would have to leave the room for the voting. Yeah.
That's clear. Thank you for that.
Position?
Same position. Yeah.
Yeah, so Councillor Massimi, Councillor Park and Councillor Kim will leave the room when Sam tells you. Yeah, okay, thank you. The next item, do members agree the minutes of the meeting held on the 24th of July 24 as a true and correct record? Thank you. Item 7. This is the proposed local implementation plan, LIP programme for 25 to 28. The outline is the list of proposed schemes to be considered for inclusion in the 25-28 LIP funding bid submission to Transport for London for TfL. I'd like to just say, for the purposes of the recording and for people in the public gallery, I understand that people in the audience may be here tonight, particularly in connection with the LIP programme and the Fountain Roundabout. To make it clear, there will be a special meeting on this particular topic to be arranged. I'm not proposing that we go into any great detail tonight on this matter, as we do not have all the information at this stage, and a detailed report will be coming to a future meeting. For the benefit of residents here tonight, the LIP programme is a mechanism to secure funding from TfL. We don't have an agreement on any particular scheme to do with the Fountain Roundabout. No scheme is being proposed this evening, as it is the beginning of the process to secure funding for the works. This is a long process that includes feasibility studies, traffic data modelling, identification of options and consultation. Members are reminded that they are being asked to note the lists of projects this evening that has been developed based on TfL criteria and our own policies. The report is for commenting only, and the list of projects will be decided at the Place Committee on the 12th of November. I'd like to introduce Eunice Hamadi to give a summary of the report. Thank you, Eunice.
Thank you, Chair. Sorry for being late.
That's all right.
I stuck out of the building and I can't get in. After 6 o'clock, you can't get into the Guildhall. So you left my mobile there. Anyway, thank you, Chair. As you said correctly, every year, all the boroughs in London, they put a bid to TfL to grant schemes, and TfL set up a criteria. So we have to meet the criteria TfL put it there. Then after that, we put our bid. So this year the same as every year for the last, 30 years when I've been here, but anyway. So it is the same, apply here. We go through the criteria we have from TfL. And sometime, as you know, during the year, we receive email from members and residents telling us about some issues and some problems. So we put them sometime in the reserve list. Then after that, we'll see if they meet the TfL criteria, then we can add it in the bid, and we can apply. So what you have in front of you here, Chair, members, is a list of projects which works on the delivery of Kingston Council Local Implementation Plan. What is the Local Implementation Plan? As all of you know, members, and Chair and Vice Chair, it is our vision at the Council. How are we going to make the Council safer, cleaner, and better for our residents? So that is what is the Local Implementation Plan. So therefore, what you have here in this list is, in Annex 1, is a list of projects which we will be putting it to all 4 neighbourhoods, which all the 4 neighbourhoods will comment on it. Then all the comment will be included when we take the report to the Place Committee in the 12th of November. That is where the resolution will be made. That's where we, Kingston Council make a decision which project they want to submit to TfL. So without delay, so you have the annex, you have the report, and I'm happy to take any question you may have, Chair and members. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Eunice, for that. So I'm just going to set down the recommendations, propose those are set out on page A of the report. Could I have a second, please?
I second it, Chair.
Thank you very much. So, do we have any questions or comments from the public? There weren't any slips filled out, but discretionary if anybody wanted to ask a question. Liz Mirabeau.
Thank you, Chair.
Do you want to come forward and sit at the desk? Thank you. And does she have? How long does she have? Just a question. Yeah. Just if you'd be brief. Thank you very much.
I'll do that. Yes, it was just a clarification, really. So we welcome the fact that there will be a special meeting in relation to the fountain. I'd be interested to know the timing of that meeting relative to the 12th of November Place Committee and whether the meeting will be a meeting in public.
I think, Chair, there is no date has been set up yet. And I'm afraid it's not, we've just been received, the council received a request. That means the council, according to the regulation, and we need to arrange a meeting. So we will arrange a meeting. And it is, yes, a public meeting. So, yes, you will be, all the public will be invited to come and attend it. But I cannot see it happening before the 12th of November because it's a very short period of time in order to be able to find the venue and all the members available and all of that. So therefore, I don't see it happening before the 12th. I don't know if that answers that question, Chair.
Thank you, Eunice.
Sorry, so I guess my slightly hidden question then was that whatever the discussion is, and we welcome this additional meeting, but that whatever the discussion is at that meeting will not be able to inform the decision that the Place Committee will make on the 12th of November. Is that correct?
Thank you, Chair. I think will be interesting to understand is what is the report that the 12th of November is going to take to committee. As I said earlier, we are seeking funding from TfL for a number of projects. And the objective of our project is to make, as I said, safer for cyclists and pedestrians and make low speed, whatever we need to do in order to improve the situation in the road for our residents, to encourage them to change their mode of transport. So therefore, the 12th of November committee is not a resolution about a scheme. So that means they are not approving a scheme to go forward. So it's only an agreement for us to the CAL officer to submit this list of shopping, if you want to call it, to TfL. Then if TfL gives us the money for it, then we need to come back to this committee. We're going to talk about how we're going to spend this money, what is the best way to address all the issues. So currently there is no, if I can make it a bit clear, there is no scheme to be approved on the 12th. There is nothing yet. So therefore, it's only the concept of how we're going to approach it. So therefore, the 12th of November, it's just giving us, yes, go and do your investigation or, carry ahead with it. But there is no decision on a scheme is going to move forward. I hope that answered the question.
Thank you, Eunice. Thank you, Liz. Sabiga Blancy, yes, come forward. Could you be brief? Thank you.
My concern is, I've probably lost the plot or whatever, but what sort of community engagement does this reflect in terms of priorities and so on? There's been no consultation that I'm aware of. There was a sort of reference by Eunice that certain issues may have been raised from different sources. So it seems a bit opaque to me. Perhaps I've missed it, but I would be very interested to know about that, because I think it should reflect local community priorities. But, you know, as I said, I may have missed it. The other point is...
Sorry, can you just repeat what your question is for clarity? Because I didn't quite understand what your question was. I got the comments, but I wanted to... What was your question?
In terms of the priorities and projects identified in the LIP submission, what public consultation and community engagement has taken place on the proposed schemes and priorities that are reflected in the LIP?
Yeah. Eunice will answer that for you.
I think this is a very interesting question. But like I said earlier is, TfL set criteria, okay? And this criteria is to reduce collision, improve road safety, improve cycling facility, provide crossing facilities, public realm improvement. So what we do as an officer, we go and we collect data. So our job, how this list being set up, we go into the data we have. For example, for the last 5 years, if we're going to take Fountain Roundabout as an example, for the last 5 years, we have over 15 collision slight, 2 serious, and 1 fatality. So we do consider at the council, this is an area need attention. So that is why our priority is based on the need. Our priority is based on safety and road safety. So that is why consultation is, it will be later on when I'm consulting you on the scheme, how I'm going to address the safety issue. Then, yes, I'll work with you as a resident in order to address how we're going to improve it and how we can make the road safer.
Okay, thank you. So the answer is that no public consultation takes place on the priorities. It's just led by a process which relates to certain evidence that's available, but not what people regard necessarily as their priorities. The other...
Can I come to this? Yeah. It's a very important point you said here, that what the people see as a necessity or necessary is perception. We need to build it on fact. And the fact for us is collision, speeding, whatever data we have, that is how we come up with the scheme. We don't bring it because, with all my respect, I tell you an example. I receive sometimes inquiry or people complaining about speeding in certain road. Do people doing 60 miles per hour? So when we do the survey, it's only 25 miles per hour. It's the people, the perception of the problem. So therefore, when we set this list of work, we based it on fact and criteria. So therefore, that is what we have in front of us. It's based on what we think the need for the borough. Thank you.
And that would be the benefit of public engagement in terms of broad approach. The other point that I wanted to make briefly was, again, it's a question of the third recommendation, which says that adjustments will be delegated to officer level in terms of priorities and so on. And again, you know, once it's in there, there is no engagement with the community, you know, in terms of the weight attached to various schemes. A lot of people, well, a lot of people, there aren't that many of it, but in a community, there may be a lot of people concerned about the fountain above all else, for example, but someone may take a different view on that, but there will be no community engagement. It will be just a decision. So, you know, on both those points, I do not see how public engagement would harm the process. In fact, it would deal with a lot of questions that a community has. And
if you could let Eunice come back on that, to the points you've made.
I think it's very important, the point you raise about the people view. And what we have in front of us here is your members. And this is the member who you elect, all of you as a resident, in order to present you and present your review. So therefore, when we said in this, they're given the opportunity to the officer. The officer, he's not going to do it in his own. The officer will be talking to the chair, vice chair, and members. And these members who represent you, they will be talking to you, and between you and the members, will be able to work in order to work on that list, how we can adjust it. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for your question.
Providing the opportunity.
No, thank you for coming. We like to see members of the public here. Sometimes it's a bit like the Marie Celeste. Just a joke. Right. So, comments from members. I saw Councillor Sillett's arm up first. Thank you.
I just want to be assured that when this process goes through, if we do get some funding from TfL, which doesn't sound like a certainty, that when there are specific proposals, rather than this sort of fitting in their criteria to attract the funding, when there are specific proposals, there will be full part in public consultation on any decision about any project going ahead. There will be public engagement.
Yeah, thank you. You are absolutely right, Councillor. As you know, during all this time, we always bring to you result of consultation. We always bring to you a scheme where we can seek your review if you want us to move forward with it or not. So this will give us only the money in order to proceed. Then after that, we can work with you and with the resident, because as always we do, we bring a report sometime to you here in order to seek your review first. If you agree for us to go and start the engagement and the consultation with the public, with the resident, our resident, then we can bring the result back to you here, so you members can make the decision if you want to proceed or what other option or resolution you want to make. So it's always in your hand.
So in the case of the Fountain Roundabout, if there was a scheme to do something on that, there would be full public consultation on anything before it went ahead?
Absolutely. I mean, it is a big project. There is no way we can go anywhere without the engagement of our resident. This is, this is the gateway to New Malden, and we need to work with our resident. We can see what is the best way, because at the end of the day, they live here, it is their ward and their area, and they are the best people to be able to comment and say about their view about their area.
Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Durrant, then Councillor Park.
Thank you, Chair. It's just to embellish that point, and in particular, I want to make sure that our communities, all of our communities, are consulted, and that definitely includes the Korean community and the Tamil community, and hopefully that they will be consulted extensively on anything to do with the Fountain Roundabout. Thank you.
I mean, absolutely, councillors. I think without doubt, all the members, and especially the Korean community, because we would like them to play part in it, because we have been trying for years, and we try to continue, because we do send consultation, and sometimes we translate them, because we want them to feel they are a part of this society, and we want them to contribute to this. And absolutely right. And I work with members and with ward members to make sure all of them are a part of this discussion.
Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you, Eunice. Councillor James. Councillor Jar, sorry.
You first.
But she's pointing to you, so I don't know.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just want to get a few bits of clarity before I make my main comments, if I may. I appreciate that it's probably included in the Chair's briefing note, but you said at the start, Chair, that we're only being asked to note the schemes here this evening, and that the final decision will be made by the Place Committee. But the recommendations, unless I've misunderstood them, aren't to note the schemes. They are to endorse the schemes. This committee is giving its endorsement to those schemes as opposed to noting it. Can I just get some clarity on that first?
Yeah, that is correct. It's on the papers, yeah.
Thank you. And with that in mind, I think it's really important that this gets a thorough airing. I mean, I've heard a lot of the right noises this evening so far from, Eunice, the Highways team. It's the members who you elect. There's no scheme, etc. But, of course, we on this committee all know that there is a proposed scheme. Now, we at this committee last year were asked to endorse a scheme which was to, and I quote, introduce a zebra or parallel crossing, and that the project would also incorporate New Malden High Street to review existing arrangements, including loading, in partnership with the regeneration team. Now, at no point since we unanimously agreed that was it ever brought back to this committee to alter the scope of that project, to look to remove the roundabout entirely, replace it with the crossroads, nor was it ever come back to this committee to close off the vehicular access at both sides of Pressburg Road. This has been done by the officers.
Excuse me. Could you please refrain from the comments, those comments you're making?
Well, no, I sought advice earlier as to whether we needed to go into closed session on this, and I was told no, probably not. I did also ask last week whether we'd have to go into closed session, and I never received a substantive answer. So on the basis that no one's told me that it's confidential, it's certainly not commercially confidential, I'm going to proceed as I am. Thank you, Chair. There is a scheme, as we know. So, yes.
There are several options. There is no specific scheme.
No,
and
the
Eunice
options
is going to come back if you just let him...
Sorry. The options comprise the scheme, Madam Chair. I'll yield in a moment. The options comprise the scheme. But at no point did a report ever come back here to alter the scope of those works, nor to seek our endorsement. And indeed, there's nothing in the forward plan about the Fountain Roundabout coming back. And in fact, if we hadn't requisitioned a special meeting to discuss it, it wouldn't be coming back at all, bar the one line in this lip. And so I'd like to propose an amendment, Madam Chair. The first is to add to recommendation 1, after the words be endorsed, to add, and I quote, with the exception of the Fountain Roundabout scheme, as it will come back to a special meeting of this committee. You want me to refrain from mentioning any more details? That's
well,
fine.
that has already been agreed, Councillor Giles.
No, it
the
hasn't.
The special meeting has already been agreed.
Excuse me. What we're being asked to vote on this evening, Madam Chair, is to endorse the construction of the scheme. Whatever proposal ends up coming forward, we're being asked to endorse it because we're being asked to bid to TfL for £5 million of funding with a view to building the damn thing, or removing it, or whatever you want to call it, constructing whatever the scheme becomes. I am not comfortable endorsing a scheme without it having a thorough airing, especially when you're telling me to refrain from making certain comments. And so I stand by my amendment, which is that we'll endorse the other LIP schemes, with the exception of the Fountain Roundabout scheme, as it will come back to a special meeting of this committee, I agree with you, and further to add a resolution 4, which is that a report on the progress of each endorsed project will come back to the committee at the half-year point in 2025-26. Because we are halfway through the year, we've not had a single update on the LIT projects we agreed last year, and the scope of some very important projects has been changed without any formal vote here by members. And I think that, including the lack of public engagement, is frankly shameful. And I'd welcome a seconder to those amendments.
Yes, I'd like to second that.
Perhaps before we do that, perhaps you'd allow Eunice to come back on the points that you made.
Well, I'm happy for him to come back.
Because I'd like to know as well.
Well, I'm happy for him to come back in the debate on the amendment, which we now move into, but it has been formally moved and seconded, so I'd like it to be
Yeah, but you didn't give him a chance to come...
No, I was going to move it anyway, Madam Chair. It doesn't... with respect to Eunice, it doesn't require a response. It wasn't a question, it was a comment and a statement with a view then to passing an amendment.
Yeah, come back. You want to go to vote? No, I want you to come back and make some comments of what he said about the...
I'm happy to make a comment, but as far as I'm aware, as an officer, looking after the whole of the neighbourhood, it's not only your neighbourhood, I don't have a scheme for the Fountain Roundabout. And if anybody can say we have a scheme, I'm afraid I can't challenge this person. We have list of schemes we are exploring. And as we already said to members who attend the meeting, it is a work in progress. We haven't yet made up our mind to any option yet, because we haven't even went out to our community and residents to seek their review. So therefore, we discussed with members internally only option, which I said it is for your eyes only. Please make sure it doesn't go out, because we haven't yet developed it, and it's not in place where we can share it or discuss it with anybody. All what I was hoping for members is to tell me if are we including all the comment you want your resident telling you about it? Are we addressing the issue you think we're addressing? Do you want us to move a bit different in here? That was the option. No, sorry, that was the idea. And at that time, we discussed number of options. So therefore, there is no option on the table. And these annex at the moment do not, I can assure members, do not refer to one option at all. It only refers to continuation to the work on developing all these options, collecting data, talking to TfL buses, talking to doing modeling. There is a lot of things that need to be done before we start thinking about a scheme. And I can assure you, members and residents, there is no scheme, and we are working on a number of scenarios and number of options, which I shared it with members internally in order to see it. And that's all what happened. And what you have in front of you here is just we asking you to endorse us to continue working on the development of this scheme. The concern I have, members and chair and vice chair, if you're not going to make a decision on the fountain roundabout, you're going to lose the opportunity. Because if a place do not make the decision on the 12th on the fountain, that means there is no money for the fountain. That means we have nothing to do any work on the fountain roundabout, and that it is not something we do recommend for the number of casualty, for the number of accidents we have at that point. So therefore, members, you need to think of that. If you don't support the fountain, will not be able to have any money at all from TfL if that is the case.
Thank you, Eunice. Any more comments? Councillor Sillett.
Number 14, number 12 down here says that all we're being asked to endorse is to identify options for roundabout consideration to address safety. I don't think we're being asked to endorse a scheme. I'm not aware of any scheme at all. I have seen an email expressing concerns, but I don't have any evidence that those concerns are real, certainly not at this stage.
Thank you, Councillor Sillett. Councillor Tracy, you wish to speak?
Yes, please. Thank you, Madam Chair. Well, I'm just concerned that we seem to be going back to the beginning again. I mean, we've been talking about this since 2016, 8 years. We're no further down the line, but I thought we were further down the line. So I'm really shocked that we seem to be starting right again and looking at every single option again. I'm very aware that the council are strapped for money, as are all councils, and I think the local residents, the fountain already has a heritage. And I'm sure that people who've lived here years could tell you so much of the history of the fountain, albeit I know that it's a duplicate monument now, but we are proud of our heritage, and I think if you talk to most people in New Malden, they'd be satisfied with maintaining a decent fountain roundabout like we've got now, putting a crossing across where Kingston Road is and doing something about the loading in Kingston. But from my understanding, that was already agreed, £100,000 agreed to do that. So why are we now going back to the beginning? But I think somebody earlier on said this will be a long process, and by no means it's not guaranteed that TfL are strapped for money. So we're asking for a lot of money when actually this is one thing we could save money on, because local people would be really content with that. They don't want another 8 years of talking. We've had talking and talking. Where did this starting again come from? I don't understand.
Councillor Park.
Hi, yeah, can you hear me? Yeah, so my question is, thanks for your clarification what we are doing tonight. And also, just my question is, I'm happy you will provide a full public consultation. So I want to know normally how long you will give notice period for the public. They are aware there will be public consultation. So once the people is aware, they can, I want many people attend that one, express their views. Then once it's been set up the date, how long also will given consultation period for the people? Just I wanted to know.
Thank you, Eunice.
Thank you, Chair. Okay, first of all, as we don't have a scheme yet, so we have a number of schemes. We haven't yet come up with a list which one we want to consult yet, because I'm not going to do that without you approving it. So it needs to come here, and you're going to approve it, and you're going to tell me which one you want me to consult the resident on. So I'm not going to consult without you, with your approval, and especially with such a scheme. So therefore, when we know, at the moment, we are collecting data, we are looking analysis, we're talking to TfL, so we're trying to look to all these venues. So when we know when, we'll bring a report to you. Then at that report, you will approve, we will ask for your approval for a consultation. And that will be, I would like not to take too many options. I would like to minimize, less option is better. But we definitely will find a way to address that. But after that, for such a scheme, I would like to give 6 weeks. So from the time the consultation is out, we give the resident 6 weeks. And after that, we'll analyze the comment, the result, and I'll come back here, and I'll present them to you, and you make a final decision. How do you want to proceed? Thank you.
Thank you, Eunice. Right, any more comments, and then we can debate it, or Councillor Kim?
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Thank you for the clarification, Officer Hamad. It was quite useful to understand the procedure tonight. I'm sure we are sharing the same ultimate goal, which is to improve the the road condition and environment around our world, make it better New Malden or make it better Kingston and UK. Probably we have the same aim in all the Korean community, the Korean people, because I'm from the Korean community, so I know we share the same goal. So as the Councillor Park asked, if you give us a bit of the notice for the resident to prepare their view or the proposal or whatever, that will be greatly appreciated by the Korean community as well. So thank you very much for consideration about the Korean community by yourself and our members. Thank you.
Thank you, Eunice. Yep.
Thank you. I'm wondering, Councillor, because for us, engagement is very important. And I'm wondering if we can work with you on holding a workshop with the community, with the Korean community. I know I don't want to be specific, but because it's good to have, because if you are there, you can translate, you can, you know what I mean? So I can have their view on the scheme, because I would definitely I love to know what they want, because I want them to feel they are a part of it and they are making it the same as everybody else. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Officer Hamad. The Korean people is not different from any other people in any other community. So we will support you or support our member to improve the situation around the Fountain Roundabout or our High Street or whatever. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Tracy? Sorry, and then Councillor Thorpe. Sorry.
Thank you, Chair. I think the key paragraph here for me is paragraph 14 of the paper, which is only 2 sentences. And that notes that there have been collision investigations in the vote around the Fountain Roundabout. We're aware there have been fatalities. I have got very close to being knocked over by a car that simply didn't notice that there was a pedestrian crossing there. it's dangerous. It's essential that we have regard to those dangers and that we do something about them. We shouldn't be constrained by decisions that were made 8 years ago in making those judgments. There's a reference here to the Connected Public Realm project. So am I right in thinking that that's the work that's underway by TfL? Is that what you mean by that in paragraph 14?
I think the public realm, as you are aware, Councillor, there have been work by the regeneration team for the corner by the old jewel it used to be. So at that location. So I think because we want to work as all together in order to deliver a scheme to the gateway of New Malden.
There was one other point I wanted to make. I wasn't quite sure whether I was on the subject. The bus routes have changed around there. We now have the SL7, an extremely important bus route for TfL, and one that I've used quite a lot. It's a very good route. And that has changed the configuration of passengers and buses around that area. And we do need to have regard to that. It's an important transport link, and it is a major issue for TfL. So we need to take account of that. And again, that wasn't around 8 years ago either.
Thank you, Councillor Thorpe. Councillor Tracy?
I just want to, I don't feel my question was answered. Who decided that we start again and look at all the options again when we've been talking about this for 8 years? So when did we decide we were going to, or who decided we were literally going to start at the beginning again and forget all the last 8 years of discussion?
Thank you, Chair. Since 2016, a lot of things changed. First of all is the administration change, that's to begin with. and secondly, the people perception change. There's a lot of change of people movement, people even options, it had been changed. So what is available for us now, more modelling, more stuff. So all what I've done, members, is to explore what we looked before. Then after that, we can say no, no, yes, no. And that is the whole idea. When I met you, I invite you all, so I can show you I'm putting everything on the table, but it doesn't mean I want all of them to go ahead. So there is a lot of lovely scheme there, but at the end of the day is we have a constraint and we need to work with them. We need to make sure TfL is agreeing to the scheme because we are at near the A3. So any implication in queue length with impact on the buses, TfL will not support it. So therefore, we need to make sure wherever we come up with a scheme, it's going to address safety, it's going to address reduce collision, and it's going to address as well the bus movement, because we don't want to come up with a scheme which is going to impact on buses, because if I want people to go leave their car at home and use the bus and then make the bus late, it's not going to work. So we need to bring all this together. So that's why we are looking to everything again, but at the same time, we're going to say, this is yes and this is no. Then after that, we can, like I said earlier, councillors, we want only minimum a number of options to put to the people to be consulted on. And it could be something all of you agreed on, because at the moment, I didn't bring anything to you. You haven't even been consulted on anything. You've only been showing something which is supposed to be internal, confidential, not to be, but anyway, we are where we are at the moment, and that's it, to seek your review, and that's what it is.
Thank you, Eunice. We shall move on to the debate now.
Sorry, I had a question for the officer.
Oh, right.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Councillor Sillett made a very good point, which is that, again, within this delivery programme, the description of the programme is simply to identify options for roundabout reconfiguration to address pedestrian access issues and road safety. I think part of the reason we're in this quandary is because last year we did not vote for the work that has since been undertaken. But I'm a tad confused, Chair, because if we read the report at paragraph 18, it reads that you're seeking a bid, the authority is seeking a bid for the full £5 million over 3 years, and that funding will be allocated incrementally as schemes progress to the next stage of delivery. So what exactly is the £5 million for? Because if indeed it is £5 million to simply identify the options, I hope we could all agree that that's a piss-poor use of taxpayer money.
Thank you, Eunice.
All right.
I'm afraid I can't answer that question.
Thank you. I think the answer to that question, as I said earlier, members, we don't have a scheme. So therefore, the scheme, what TfL is telling us, you can bid between 0.5 million up to 5 million. So now we are working with a consultant, and that consultant, he needs to develop a scheme and give us an estimate. So we are going for the worst scenario, which is if we need a lot of major modelling, because the modelling, it costs in its own good £100,000. So we don't know what is going to look like. We don't know what is the scheme. But as we are an authority, we would like to bid for the worst scenario. And TfL, they're not going to give us the money unless we spend it. So then, in that case, if they guarantee we can give you subject to spend the money, if we don't spend the money, we won't have the 5 million. So, but at least we want to guarantee if we have to, it is there being reserved to Kingston Council.
Thank you, but sorry, I'm just trying to get some clarity, because the 5 million then, up to 5 million, includes the delivery of a scheme.
Absolutely, delivery of a scheme. But as we are now working on exploring options, then I'm gonna bring it back to you here. Then you're gonna be agreeing on consultation. Then I'm gonna bring to you the result of the consultation. Then you're gonna make a decision, and that decision is on a scheme. So this scheme we are referring to is. Does it need modelling? It doesn't need modelling, whatever required. So we're going for the worst scenario, what it is, but we haven't reached that yet. We're still at the beginning.
Yes, but just to be clear then, the up to 5 million is not simply, as stated in the annex, to identify options. The up to 5 million is to deliver a scheme at the Fountain Roundabout.
No, it's not. I think I have to make it clear, members. The scheme is not only about the Fountain Roundabout. We are looking to the 4 arms as well. So we have to have a look in New Malden High Street, how we can improve the situation in New Malden High Street, how we can improve the load. So we need to look to the, big pictures. We're not looking only one little scheme. We have to look to all the arms, how they link together, and how we are able to bring a report back. So it's not about one scheme, it's about the whole of the area.
Right, but sorry, it's about, the 5 million includes delivery. It's not just identifying options.
No, it's about the deliveries, which is going to be over 3 years.
But because that isn't what it says in the annex, and seemingly from Councillor Sillett's comment, that this approval was only to explore proposals then seems to be completely misguided. And I can understand the misguidance, because the report is written in such a way. And I want finally, before we go to debate, Madam Chair, just to come back on the officer's point. You keep saying there is no scheme on the one hand, but then on the other hand, you've got members saying, oh, well, can we consult with whoever, But my issue is that we attended a meeting which contained a number of proposals within a scheme of work. And indeed, the report says here, in the public domain, the focus for our bid under this funding stream, PAR 18, will be the work we have already commenced on New Malden Fountain Roundabout. And just finally, to back up my point, we are asked to resolve in the first recommendations that the proposed schemes, as listed in the table, are being endorsed. So if there is no scheme, why is it in the table requesting our endorsement?
Okay, thank you. As you know, currently, last year, the LIP or youth members approved certain amount of money for the Fountain Roundabout. To do what? Is to investigate the road safety, to address the collision, to address the cycling, and to include loading bay in New Malden, as a part of all of these studies and parallel crossing. So those was attachment to the main point, which is investigate the collision, investigate the safety. Then those will go all together. So what we've done, Councillor, we employed consultant, which now he collect the data, he exploring options, and now he want to move forward. To move forward, we explore all the options on the table, and now we're thinking going through the filtering of that later on when we collect more data and when we talk more with the London buses and TfL. So then after that, you're gonna approve, as I said to you, is if after March, okay, after March, then we need money, because if there is a request for modeling by TfL between two projects, between two schemes, not only one, between two schemes, we need to do it in order to decide which one is going to have less impact on the network in order to be able to take it forward. So if you look in the annex, member, you will see that delivery of these is over 3 years. There is 3 X's. So I'm not saying that delivery is only in 1 year. I'm saying it's going to be into phases, because it depends what you're going to approve at the end of the day, because it is your scheme. You're going to decide which one you want to go forward. Then after that, it's going to take whatever. Maybe you're not going to approve anything, because as all of you know, as a part of my presentation was do nothing is one of them. So everything are on the table. So therefore, the delivery is over three years. You are not here approving a scheme, because there is no A scheme yet. And I'm repeating it again to you all members, because there is no scheme, A scheme being agreed by officers and members to go out for delivery, because you haven't approved anything yet.
Chair, and a technical point, because the officer mentioned earlier there's no money if we vote this down, but I just want to be very clear, because it's very important to the amendment. Can we be clear that if we withhold endorsement of the £5 million from this committee, that does not preclude the item then being decided at the place committee? Because at the start, I think you were very clear, Chair, that there's not a decision to be made here tonight. So I don't want members to feel strong-armed into feeling they have to endorse at this point. I just want some clarity on whether it precludes the matter then going to the place committee.
I think you are absolutely right. You are absolutely right, Councillor, because you are not making a decision here. You are not a decision maker. So resolution and the decision by place. As I said to you at the beginning, I will take your comment. So if your comment at this committee, you don't want to endorse this one, I will report it to the place committee, and the place committee can decide to support you or to say, I hear what you say, move on and approve it. So the final decision on that, it's with place committee, it's not within the neighbourhood committee. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, I have one small question going back to the lip that was put in. Sorry? Last year, Eunice. The 100,000, which was for, again, reconfiguration of the Fountain Roundabout, did we receive that money, or is that part of, because we didn't receive it, part of the bit that's rolled on into this year's LIP programme? Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. No, this is the money you're referring to. It'll play into 2 parts. There is a staff fees. The staff fees, yeah. Kingston Council, yeah. Staff, they need to be paid. Yeah. So there is a staff fees element. Then we have the consultant, yeah. Next. Then we have preparation, survey. It has been, all of it been done as a result of that. So therefore, that it was a part of 23-24 expenditure.
Thank you very much for the clarity. Thank you for that. Right, so does anybody want to debate further on this? Councillor Coogan?
Thank you, Chair. I just want to remind, when we did the Kingston cycle lanes on Kingston Road, at the time, I'm told, we spent 800k from TfL consultants and 400k to RBK consultants that delivered cycle lanes that were unfit and unsafe. So the only point I'd like to make, regardless, I have lost the plot as to exactly where we are, that regardless of whose money is being spent, that we really do make sure that money doesn't simply go, run into the sands. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Coogan. Anybody else want to debate this? Anybody else before Councillor Giles?
Just in closing of the amendment, yes, because you're going to take a vote on the amendment first, yeah?
Yeah. Councillor Giles.
Thank you, Chair. I think this is about as clear as mud at the moment, and I think Councillor Coogan sums it up, saying that she's not quite sure where we're at. We're told there's no scheme, but then we're being asked to endorse a scheme listed in Annex 1. We're told that it's only to identify options, but it's £5 million that includes delivery over 3 years. There's a special meeting convened to discuss this in great detail. Us withholding our endorsement of the scheme this evening to allow a more thorough airing after the Place Committee does not preclude the matter going forward to the Place Committee for determination. And so on that basis, I would ask that members support the amendment to withhold our endorsement of the roundabout until the special meeting. And finally, given, as even yourself, Chair, questioned the money that we agreed last year, and in light of the officer's comments committing to, if you like, reporting back on the schemes that are agreed, I think in the interest of transparency, it's only right and proper that we also endorse the additional Resolution 4, which is that a report on each of the endorsed projects comes back to the committee at the half-year point, because let's be quite clear, if we endorse and get the 5 million, or regardless if we endorse, if the authority gets the 5 million to deliver this non-existent supposedly scheme, but definitely is a scheme as per Resolution 1, if we do get that funding, well then, as we've learnt from last year, we don't hear until something has gone awry, people have done something different, just quite what's gone on. So I'd urge members to support the amendment, which amends Resolution 1 and also adds Resolution 4. And if members are so minded, I'll take a vote individually. It's up to members as to how they feel they'll support it.
Right, so we take a vote on the amendment. Does anybody want a recap of what we're doing on the amendment before we vote? Okay, so that was Councillor Giles' amendment. So,
Is it both? Or
sorry?
is it the first one or both?
This is the substantive. This is Councillor Giles' amendment.
I beg your pardon, Chair. It's within your gift, but would you like to take my amendment to Resolution 1 as a separate vote and then do Resolution 4, or would you like them considered together? Members may have dissenting views on each.
That's up to them. We'll take them together. So, those in favour of the amendment proposed by Councillor Giles, please raise your hand. That's 3, 4.
Yep.
Those against?
8 against, Chair.
So that has fallen.
Yes, that amendment's fallen.
And then to vote for the main
The original
motion, which I put down as set out in Annex. Sorry.
Can I ask you something? Does that mean you have no comment you want me to take to the place? Because the whole purpose of me coming here tonight
I think
is ask you if you have any comment would you like us to take to place from your neighbourhood?
Yeah, I mean, there's other schemes. Do the members want to talk about the other schemes? Is it the only one?
So we've just done the fountain. Yeah, sorry. Is that okay for the amendment? Yeah. Did anybody else want to discuss the other schemes? Perhaps the old Malden one and that? Yes, okay. You've got your chance now.
And there's Andy now.
Yeah, okay, all right, yeah. Councillor Massimi, thank you.
Good evening. Thank you, Chair.
of course, I'm going to comment on Old Malden. I'm very pleased to see that line item 8 and 11 around the safer crossing program, especially, have been mentioned. There is an urgent need, as agreed with the highway and the teams, around improving safety for residents to cross South Lane, especially with the numbers of children going to and from school, and with the new design having wider road and more traffic and also a bit of a rat run. It is more than necessary to make a safer crossing near the Millers Road towards the Panthers Estate. And I'm also very keen to see when we manage to resecure some maintenance funding for the final legs of the Church Road, having now the Epsom and Newell finally done, to also be completed from the width restrictions, where there will be in the future to allow access for green space, the boardwalk, the 6-acre meadows, for all residents of Highdown, Epsom and Newell, and Leffield, amongst others, to safely connect the north of St. John Church, top of the hill, down to the green space. So those schemes, which have yet obviously to be approved by place, I am extremely keen to see them going forward and continue with a safer, greener borough, and especially in Old Malden. So thank you for that, and I've got many more to bring alongside traffic and speed reductions. I think we've looked at up to 10 speed hump amongst other things that we would like to implement. And last point as well, if I may, I sincerely hope that TfL and other officers will support the consideration to have some speed camera and average speed check on 2 or 3 of the very, very hot spot in Old Malden to reduce traffic speeding. Thank you.
Thank you. What? Sorry. Would you like to comment back to Councillor Massimi?
If I may, I think the TfL will not put any cameras because there is a criteria, and the criteria there is in 4 or unfortunately killed or seriously injured in order to put cameras. So if we don't have the criteria, TfL, they don't put cameras. The only thing is available for the council is to put the speed indicators display, as you said, Sid, but these are not free as well. So we have a number of them, and we try to move them around in the borough. And I know, Councillor Massimi, you did ask for a few of them, and we add them on the list, and they are in the rota. So you have to bear with us. So when the time comes, we'll move them.
Thank you, Eunice. Yes, you bet I will keep asking, but thank you for that. Thanks.
Sorry, Councillor Sillett.
My only comment is just a bit of a repetition of the question I asked earlier, which is there seems to be a lot of sensitivity about a scheme for the Fountain Roundabout. We're being asked to identify options for this, and that any scheme that is listed for our consideration will also be given full, go through the full public consultation phase. That's assuming we get any money to do it in the first place. That seems to be my understanding of what we're being asked to do this evening.
That's correct, yeah. Thank you for that. Anybody else? Councillor Durrant. And anybody else who wants to make any comments before we go to the vote? Thank you.
Just to move it on a little bit, I just wanted to talk about cycle parking in point 32. I think it would be very good if we could consider having some kind of a scheme around Charnwood Court, because that would be useful for the local residents in that area. It talks about council stock, but also if there would be a possibility of extending that, because obviously that goes into New Malden, so you could have extra parking there for it as well. And I don't know, also we have worked and talked already with South Western Railways about having more cycle parking in and around the station to make that secure. I don't know whether that is in the scope of this, but I would like to see both of those schemes potentially considered. Thank you very much.
Councillor Durrant, that's a good comment. Councillor Massimi.
Thank you, Chair. What I can ask, I'll ask. I've been approaching TfL for about 25 times already in the last 3 years. I would really love if place could consider, if this is possible, to finally have CCTV on the F3 underpass, which are linking South Lane, both for the Green Lane and St. James and for Old Malden. It will cost a lot less than removing graffiti and rubbish on a weekly basis. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Good comment. Councillor James, and then anybody else, please put your hand up and then we're going to the vote.
Thank you. I just wished to put on the record that I'm very concerned to hear that adjustments are being delegated to the Associate Director for Highways. In my view, if there are amendments needed, they should come back to the committee for sign-off so we don't end up inadvertently endorsing schemes that turn out to be something completely different.
Thank you, Councillor Giles. Right.
With the comment, I guess we can take it to the place committee.
Yeah, you can take that comment. Yeah. So any more comments? No? For Eunice? No. Right, so we shall go to that. Those in favour?
Madam Chair, sorry, can we vote on each recommendation individually? I wish to split my vote.
So, those in favour of item 1, correct? Is that what you meant?
Yep.
Those in favour of item 1 and Annex 1, please raise your hand. Those in favour.
8 in favour, Chair.
Those against?
3.
3.
3 against.
And no abstentions. Thank you.
That's approved.
That is carried. Item 2. Those in favour?
We're going to.
We're going to individual ones. What?
Okay, just move it.
He asked for them individually
Yeah, I
because
know,
he's
I know.
voting in favour of this one.
It's unanimous. It's unanimous, Chair.
Thank you. And item 3. Those in favour?
That's 8 in favour.
Those against?
No,
Those
no,
abstaining?
3 abstentions.
3. Thank you very much. Thank you, members. That's good. So, moving on next to the... Thank you, Eunice, for your assistance tonight. Moving on to the antisocial behaviour presentation by Stephanie Royston Mitchell and Lineker Eleveld. If you'd like to come and sit in the hot seats, as we call them.
Can we make this brief?
What?
Can we make it brief?
Oh, well, you're nearer them.
Yeah. Well done,
Thanks, Eunice. Cheers. Thank you. Oh, I thought it was verbal, actually. You're doing a actual presentation. Get the right glasses on.
Keeps bouncing back up. So really shouting. I'm going to do the first half of the presentation, which just talks a little bit about what antisocial behaviour is. It's quite difficult because I'm trying to look at the screen and speak into the mic. So if you can't hear me, please just let me know. So really, this just provides a presentation on an overview of some of the work that we do at the council. We are presenting... I'll try and move this around. It's really hard. We are presenting on other teams. So myself and Lineker are from the community safety team, and we do a lot of other community safety work on behalf of the Safe for Kingston Partnership. But we are presenting for other teams tonight. It provides an update on the types of antisocial behaviour, just so we're all clear what we're talking about when we go through the data, and includes data reported to the council, and that's council housing, so housing stock owned by RBK and the community safety team, reports made to regulatory services at the council, so that's noise, abandoned vehicles, bonfires, licensed premises and dump rubbish, and reports made to the council relating to fly tipping. This presentation doesn't include antisocial behaviour reports that are made to the police, although you'll see as we go through it, we work really closely with the police, both in terms of dealing with antisocial behaviour as well as lots of other things. This presentation is for information only, but we're very open to people contacting us and kind of following the meeting.
It's also here.
Oh, brilliant. That's a lot better. So, what is antisocial behaviour? So, the description or the kind of definition set by the government is quite broad and a little bit vague, but it is behaviour that causes harassment, alarm or distress to other people. And it can include both criminal and non-criminal behaviour. So that's where we work with the police. If it's criminal behaviour, then we would kind of ask the police to lead on it, but in partnership with us. And it can be things like threatening, harassing or abusive behaviour, noise nuisance, vandalism, graffiti and fly posting, fly tipping and dump rubbish, abandoned vehicles and misuse of public space. So, as I've mentioned, we do work together with the police and also social housing landlords. So if residents are experiencing problems and they are in properties owned by social landlords, we'll also work with them to try and resolve any issues. So just a little bit about how we might tackle antisocial behaviour. So we do lots of awareness raising, and that could be through Antisocial Behaviour Awareness Week, attending community events or any other opportunities, things like Freshers' Fair at the college and university we've been going to engage with students there. Community engagement initiatives, which could be community events, or it could just be doing walk and talks in local areas with residents and ward members. So we've done that in some areas of the borough where people can kind of walk around areas with us and tell us. We've got options to report the different types of antisocial behaviour on our website, and we've got leaflets if anyone would like those. We go right the way through in community safety, from prevention through to intervention, and also we have some options to do enforcement activity. We have to work within the legislation, so sometimes there is frustration there, but we do have to work within the law. We'll do casework, so we'll provide support for victims and also take actions against perpetrators. And we work with our partners, so we've got an Antisocial Behaviour Partnership Board, and I co-chair Kingston's Community Multi-Agency Risk Assessment Conference, which is for people, and this could be victims or perpetrators, where there's a kind of high risk of harm or complexity for either the victim or the perpetrator. We coordinate ASB case reviews for the councils, which is a statutory requirement, so people can ask for a case review if they feel that they have not received a good service from any organisation, that could be police or the council or their social landlord, and we will conduct a case review. And we're really proud that we've achieved the ASB pledge, which we basically work with an organisation called ASB Help, which are absolutely brilliant, and they kind of assess us on how we respond to victims and our kind of victim focus and good practice. There is lots of information on our website for people who've not seen it, and we've just included a kind of what our leaflet looks like, which tells you where to report the different types of antisocial behaviour. What I would say is if it comes into the wrong report, we are generally very good at getting it to the right person, so we wouldn't just ignore it if it's not for us. And equally, if it's for the police, then we would reach out to the police and share that information in terms of what's happening, obviously with the victim's consent or the person who's reporting that. But those leaflets are available at all our community events. And I'm going to hand over to Lineker now just to present some data.
Can you hear me? I think now the microphone is on, yeah? Okay, perfect. So I'll focus first on housing and community safety reports. So we have different systems within the council when ASB reports come in. So this is for the housing team and for our team. The reports are broken into 11 categories: neighbour disputes, drug use and dealing, ASB associated with rough sleeping, antisocial behaviours, social street drinking, vandalism, pets and animal, antisocial behaviour, hate crime, unauthorised encampments, prostitution and vehicle nuisance. Then we also have ASB Other, and we've grouped together the public space misuse, verbal abuse, and intimidation and harassment all together. So the data is between June 2023 and August 2024, and across the whole borough we have 237 cases raised. For New and Old Malden, this is 31 cases, so 13% of the reports that we get from housing and community safety is from your neighbourhood. That is a small percentage, so that means either you have a great neighborhood and there's not much happening, or people not reporting it. And the last one might also be more likely that there's underreporting. I'm not saying your neighborhood is not great, it absolutely is. But underreporting of antisocial behavior is very common. So so it's definitely recommended to encourage people to report when things are happening. When something's happening, antisocial behavior is reported early, we can do something before it escalates, instead of only reporting when it escalates. So go to the next. So we have ASB reports per ward. So I think everyone can have a peek through their ward, how many cases you have. Some of you might think like, oh, only this amount of cases in my ward. Is that a good thing? Is that a bad thing? It can be, what I said, underreported. Can be that it's reported to the police, some of the issues that you know about, and not to the council. So this is only council data. So that's taken into account. The largest ward is Kingston Town. Kingston Town Centre has a nighttime economy as well. Lots of venues, lots of people visiting Kingston Town. So that is common to be on the top. So here we have cases per category. You can see that neighbour dispute and drugs are the most common borough-wide. And for New and Old Malden, this is neighbour dispute and ASB Other, which again is the area misuse and intimidation, harassment and vandalism grouped together. Should be noted that the neighbour dispute is only 11 cases and ASB Other is 8 cases, so it's a small amount of cases. So even though those categories are the highest, it just should be noted that there's a small amount of cases to compare. So we'll go to the data from June 2023 to May 2024. The data is still August, but between June, July, and August, we don't have reports from your neighbourhood. So that is why it's not in here. So in May, you see a bit of a peak, but it should be again noted that, for example, the neighbour dispute has peaked, but that's 3 cases. Repeat cases are also not excluded. So it's all relative what we are looking at because of the small amount of cases. I'll go short summary for that database. 13% of the cases are from New and Old Malden, so definitely encourage people to report antisocial behaviour when they witness or experience it. There's no clear trends over time. Also, that's really difficult to see with such a small amount of cases. Again, the repeat cases are not excluded in this data. So it could be that those 3 neighbourhood disputes or one address, but 3 reports that have come into us. Then our response to the cases. So we do case management and support for victims, as Steph mentioned briefly. We always have a multi-agency approach to ensure the response is victim-focused and appropriate action is taken against perpetrators. There's sometimes a lot of different agencies involved, depending on what the problem is, what the underlying causes of the antisocial behaviour. So we work very closely together with the police, but also with our youth service. We work together with like mental health, substance misuse, also the Rough Sleepers charities. So we work together with a lot of different organisations to tackle the antisocial behaviour depending on the case. So per case is different which partner we involve. We share intelligence and meetings with key stakeholders to inform a partnership response. So really important to work together because we can't solve it all on our own. The police can't solve it all on their own either. So yeah, we all need to work together. And Steph already mentioned the Community Multi-Agency Risk Management Conference. That is really for complex cases and that get referred to that really need all those partners around the table and a more intense response to the case. So a quick mention around the projects and activities in your area. So Blackburn Road Car Park has been an area of concern for antisocial behaviour. So even today, I just came a couple of hours from Blackburn Road Car Park. So we have contextual safeguarding concerns there around young people hanging around in the car park and causing a nuisance to residents that actually park their cars there. So we have those meetings with our youth service, with residents, and also with the police present as well. So we have those meetings to see what can be done, if there's graffiti that is, for example, offensive, to remove that, etc. So really the response about that place. Then attendance at police ward panel meetings to ensure a coordinated response to the issues raised by local residents. So we've attended the new Malden village ward panel meeting. If there's any ward panel meeting that has specific concerns, we will attend. We're only a few people in our team, so we can't attend all ward panels in the borough. So when there's issues that we are responding to, we can attend, but we can't attend all of them, as we simply don't have the capacity to. And supporting New Malden Library. So there was some concerns around antisocial behaviour around the library. So we're supporting the library as well. And we do that all across the borough now to inform how to report antisocial behaviour, to give a little bit of workshop to the staff around both hate crime, graffiti, with the youth service, etc. So yeah, that is in your area. I'll move on to the reports. The reports from regulatory services. So this is a different team that we present on behalf. So that's the environmental team, lead on the response. The complaints are broken down into 6 categories: abandoned vehicles, noise nuisance, bonfires, rubbish, licensed premises, and fixed penalty notice for fly tipping. This data is from July 23 to August 24. So we see here a comparison with borough-wide and New and Old Malden, the total amount of cases. So we have abandoned vehicles, for example, 1,115 cases in the borough and 206 in New and Old Malden. So you see a bit of a graph around amount of cases that are being reported from your area. Sorry, I'm confused with the paper, which way it goes. Then we have the reports per month. So the amount of cases here is a little bit higher than the amount of cases that come to housing and community safety. So you can see a little bit more of a trend. We can see a little bit during the summer months that there's an increase in cases. That's very common because people are more outside, so noise is more reported. People hear things better, but also people are making more noise because they're hanging out inside instead of in their house or closed spaces. This is per ASB reports per ward. So we can see that Kingston Town this is the whole of Kingston. So Kingston Town, again, like the highest amount of reports. You can have a peek at your ward about the amount of cases. So regulatory service, 18% of the total ASB reports are from New and Old Malden. So again, not a high percentage of cases compared to other neighbourhoods. So again, encourage people to report. That would be really good. So the main type of reports relate to noise and abandoned vehicles, and that's borough-wide and also in New and Old Malden. So that is quite common all across. Noise reports increase in the summer, and again, even though we have a little bit more cases to report compare, it's still a small amount of cases, and the repeat cases are not excluded. The environmental health team is a very much demand-led service, so they respond to issues being reported to them, compared to like our team that goes out and do preventative work as well. Then we go to fly tipping, the last one. This is done by corporate and commercial team, leads on the response. And this data is from October 2020 to August 2024, so the data is captured for a bit longer amount of time. You can see here the trend over time, starting in October 2020. We can see a bit of a decrease. This is borough-wide, not specifically for the neighbourhood. We can see a bit of a decrease in cases for fly tipping. So that might be that there is less fly tipping in our borough, or it might be because people report less fly tipping. So there's always a narrative around data and around seeing the trends and what the cause is, and that is what we are not 100% sure. Here you can see a bit the size, by type. You can see that most of the fly tips that are being reported are unidentified, unknown what it is. And then we have other household waste and black bags. And if we look at the size, small van load is the most common. Then we have single black bags in a car boot or less, so fairly small amount of fly tips, the small size of fly tips more common than the bigger size fly tips. Here you can see again per ward, so have a peek at your ward to see how you stand against the other wards regarding fly tipping. Some initiatives for fly tipping. So there's a fly tipping task force that focuses on hotspots. So they really focus on what are really the problem areas for fly tipping across the borough, what can we do about it, and they also do camera deployments. Then we have a campaign, a Let's Scrap Fly Tipping campaign that launched in 2022, and it's going to be repeated in Sunray Estate and Cambridge Road Estate in 2025. So it's only in 2 estates that it's going to be repeated. This is around education and awareness raising, door knocking, and doing staged fly tips, which I have a photo of a bit later in the presentation. And just to mention around neighbourhood rangers, so you all have also neighbourhood rangers that also do pick up like litter in your area, make sure the community is clean, and those are not included in the reports that we have, so that is proactive work that is being done. These are some examples of the flyers related to the Let's Scrap fly tipping campaign from 2022. And this is a state's fly tip on Kingston Town Centre. It's just as an example of projects that are happening within the council related to antisocial behaviour. And that's it from us. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Stephanie and Lineker. Right, if there's anybody in the public who has a brief comment to make that they would like Lineker and Stephanie to take back on this, the public first, and then members, okay? Anybody wish to come and make a brief comment or no? Yes? Come forward, sir. Can you just introduce yourself for the tape, please? Thank you.
Yes, my name's Toby Ewan. Right. My name's Toby Ewan. I live just off Motts Park Road. And my only thought was, from memory, some of the cases I can recall getting mentioned publicly of significant fly tipping over the last few years have been quite near borough boundaries. And living near a borough boundary myself, I'm conscious that it's an issue just over the boundary in the Merton part of Motts Park, for instance. I'm presuming that our fly tipping team is in touch with their opposite numbers in neighbouring boroughs to see whether there are issues where figures go up and down and it's actually because of some enforcement action taken in a neighbouring borough that's pushed things over to us, or vice versa, so that they can be sort of conscious of whether activity in one borough is connected to activity 100 yards away next door.
Correct, and whether who's picking up what and that, yeah. Do you have a comment on that, or that's to feed back to you, but do you, because the gentleman did ask a question about whether you had any...
do you have repeat perpetrators who turn out
connections
to
with the
fly tip in
borough?
one borough and then the next one,
okay,
depending on where they think they may be spotted?
Thank you.
so I'm not from the fly tipping team. I was just going to. But from a community safety perspective, we do have really good relationships with all of our neighbouring boroughs. But fortunately, we've got Ralph here.
Thank you, Ralph. Ralph, who was former enforcement.
Thank you, Chair. Yes, fly tipping. If I'm a professional fly tipper, i.e. I'm an unlicensed waste collector, I will dump within quarter of a mile of my collection point. Therefore, we are aware of who they may be, unlicensed, because we all have a duty of care. If I answer an advert to say, I'll collect your waste, your duty of care is to check whether or not they are licensed waste collectors and also to obtain a receipt. This doesn't go on. If you don't do it, you're liable to a fixed penalty notice, which is an important point to remember. So people are very complicit. We could reduce this offence straight away by people upholding their duty of care. To get back to the point you're making, yes, we do link in with other boroughs. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for your question. Francis, I saw your hand up. Yes. If you come to the desk, then we can hear you through the mic. Thanks.
In New Malden, can you hear me now? Yeah. So we do a lot of litter picking in New Malden with the Residents Association. My question is basically how many cases of fly tipping are taken to court every year? Because it seems to me that there are very, very few.
Thank you for your question. Whoever would like to answer it on the panel, go ahead.
Thank you, Chair. It's very unusual for us to take, in Kingston to take cases to court because of the level of fly tipping. It's generally, as Lineker has just said, the level is quite small. For cases to be taken to court, i.e. we're looking for a fine in excess of, say, £5,000, because the cost to take the case to court...
So basically, are there very few cases taken to court because of the cost?
No, because it's not proportionate, where we know the fine will be considerably less than the total cost. So at the moment, the fixed penalty notice is £400. Prior to me leaving the team, there was consideration, and I know it's been muted, it can be raised to £1,200 or staged. So £400, £800, £1,200, depending on the size of the fly tip. Okay? So therefore, to take a case to a magistrate's court costs us in excess of £10,000 to £20,000. And that's out of the public purse. And if the offender is only likely to receive a fine of, say, £500, that's a lot of money wasted when they could have just had a £400 fixed penalty notice.
Thank you. Does that answer your question, Francis Marsh?
Yes, it does, but it's very, very dispiriting, I have to say. I mean, having done a lot of litter picking around New Malden over the years, the amount of fly tipping and litter is appalling, and it is really dispiriting. That's all I've got to say.
Thank you very much.
Chair, can I just make another comment? And it means I don't have to make a comment later on an update. If I could provide you some reassurance, as of July this year, the WISE became the council contractors, environmental contractors. So we now have 2 uniformed officers that patrol the borough, where before it was just me, myself and I. So now these are 2 highly visible officers that are patrolling the borough and will and have be issuing fixed penalty notices for fly tipping, littering, trade waste, highway offences, which is keeping materials on the highway without a licence, skips, repairing vehicles on the highway, etc. So to reassure you, there is a lot of enforcement action been taking place. Please don't get disparaged by it, because we don't go to court. There's a misnomer around court and CCTV, but we'll have that discussion another time. Thank you.
Thank you, Ralph. That's very informative. Brief comments. I'm bearing in mind the time. We have four applications and we have to leave and be tidied by 10:30 here. So, and I've realised that there's 3 applicants who are here. I don't think the other is here, but, you know, for everybody to have their say and everything. Yeah, thank you.
It's very brief, and it's a supplementary question, which was how... Do you have any broad figures on how many fixed penalties there have been for fly tipping, say, within Kingston as a whole or within this neighbourhood in the last year?
So you can see on the slides for New and Old Malden, for New and Old Malden, we have 67 fixed penalty notices issued. But as Rolf was saying, there is also new enforcement officers in place now, so that will go up in the upcoming time because we have more capacity to enforce. Yeah.
Thank you very much. Right, I think we can move on to members' comments. Please be brief. Councillor Giles.
Thank you, Chair, and I want to thank the 2 officers for coming and giving what I thought was a really informative presentation. Just 2 quick things. The first is the slide that was headed in a yellow colour about how you can report toward the start. I'd really like to see that in our community notice boards, and I wonder whether that could be mentioned to the rangers, because that's, I think, a really useful resource. But the other point, which was just a few slides back in the direction you came from, one of the graphs mentioned rough sleeping as a category of ASB, and that just concerns me a little bit. It's in the same, the same categories as vandalism and assault, and unless someone has been antisocial while rough sleeping, I just want to clarify, is it only those who have been antisocial while sleeping on the street? Because rough sleeping in itself shouldn't be ASB.
Yeah, we probably should have clarified that. I'm kind of very passionate about rough sleeping and the fact that people are not penalised purely for rough sleeping. So whenever we get reports that just allude to rough sleeping, then we link in with Kingston Churches and Spear, who do our homeless outreach, or we do Street Link, and we always recommend to members of the public to use Street Link as well. So if a person's reported it, our response would be, if you could report to Street Link, we'll also engage our homeless team. So absolutely not. We do our best. We also attend the multidisciplinary kind of rough sleeping meeting in the council with partners, and we're also advocates sometimes when maybe other partners maybe want to take a slightly different approach. Obviously we balance that if we are experiencing people saying they feel unsafe around particular areas, or there's certain types of behaviours. Again, we would try and work through the outreach team to say to the people who are rough sleeping, we've had these reports, can you kind of maybe just bear that in mind? So, yeah, absolutely. We should have said that.
No, really useful. Thank you, Chair. Thank you again.
Good point. Thank you. Councillor Massimi and then Councillor Durrant. And then...
Thank you, Chair. Thanks for the presentation. That's music to my ear, enforcement. One question, well, 2 questions actually. The first one is the data you have on Kingston Council regarding ASB. Have you cross-checked this with similar data for the same ward than the one received by the police to see if there is a pattern, if there's an alignment, if it's just a fact that police might be easier to reach out to or not? That would be really useful to see the overall pictures. That's the first question. The other one is around the AI CCTV. I've got 7 installed in this ward, and it was an uphill battle following the Internet of Things with IDGO Vodafone scheme 3 years ago. They are still about 20 plus, some of them underutilized in the borough. Those are really useful to track mainly vehicles or identified people fly tipping. I would really much like everyone to consider reopening budget and making sure that we have fundings, because this is not just a cost, this is an investment, and it's paid back by enforcing with a firm hand that on the ground. So those AI fly tipping cameras, which we have, needs to be maintained on an ongoing basis, which they are not. The scheme has been stopped over a year and a half ago, so we're just working with the one left and trying to move them around. Can I please ask the team to really push for this to happen? We need more CCTV, and we need more enforcement, and we need a really firm hand on that. Thank you. So question one is probably an answer on your side, and question, well, the other one is a statement and a cry for help.
I will respond to that related to the data from the council and the police. We've not made comparison between the data. Also, we work very closely together with the police on all the cases. So it must be noted that cases that come to us, cases that come to the police, very often we are aware of all of them. But this is the data that is reported directly to the council. So we've not made a comparison, but we do have regular meetings. We have like an ASB officer within the police, and we have like bi-weekly meetings with her. We discuss different locations that might have like an increase in ASB reports, for example, or addresses of concern, etc. So those are discussed, and we've not made a comparison specifically for the data because we already have that communication and the partnership working across all the cases. Related to your second question around CCTV, so the CCTV in general across the borough is being reviewed. So there's a review going on at the moment, all the which we are also involved in. So we're also making comments about the different locations. Where do we get? That's why also reporting is important, because if we get like more reports, we have more evidence for CCTV. But yeah, there's a complete review at the moment going on, and we're inputting into that review, which kind of decides of like the locations that CCTV should stay or locations that doesn't have CCTV and it should be increased. Yeah, thank you.
Can I just add to that as well? The CCTV review is that we're also looking at how we resource redeployable cameras. So I think the fly tipping cameras were kind of redeployable, which means that we've got ability to move cameras around the borough. So that's also been looked at the same time. And I think just on the comparison of data, we support the Safer Kingston Partnership, which is a statutory partnership that each local authority has to have, which is police, fire brigade, health, local authority, probation, police, fire brigade, health, local authority and probation. It's 5 agencies that are statutory partners. And as part of that strategic work, we do a strategic assessment every year, which looks at all of the partners' data, and then it pulls across to inform their priorities. So we've just written our 5-year plan. So that's where the comparison would be done at a strategic level. On a local level, we speak to the police daily. So I think we're pretty much up to speed on kind of what the trends are without comparing. The data only tells us what people report as well. So sometimes we have that anecdotal data, or we might have seen things ourselves. So those meetings sometimes are more effective than just comparing the data.
Sorry, I haven't got mine.
Thank you, Chair. It's a couple of bugbears, of which I'm sure the officers know a little bit about. The first thing is about unadopted roads, which are an absolute nightmare. Basically, your fly tippers will go into an unadopted road, dump the stuff there, and then we as a council go, oh, well, there's nothing we can do about it. It's an unadopted road. And therefore, the rubbish stays there forever and a day. I'm not going to talk about the roads in my ward that are unadopted and are consistently have fly tipping in it as well. But I do think we've got to come up with something better than we'll just wash our hands of it. It's not, we'll leave it alone and then let's hope nothing ever happens. And it's only through my various begging and pleading that the things get cleaned. So I would implore us to consider putting into CCTV into these unadopted roads where there are known fly tipping areas, please. That's my first point. Second point is regards to abandoned vehicles. I think we need to be a little bit more robust about when we're saying this has an MOT, this vehicle has an MOT. There have been 2 cases recently in my ward, one with an abandoned taxi that was there for over 2 years. Anybody would be able to think, well, there's a bit of a problem with that. So, you know, obviously I've got a full-time job as well as this, and I had to go down and look at the taxi and find the VIN number and find that the number plates were actually cloned, so that you got the MOT was it was all there and it was fine, but it's not. It was a cloned vehicle number. So please, can we also have a little bit more robust investigation when it comes to abandoned vehicles? Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Durrant. Councillor Coogan next, yeah?
A quickie. Pets and animals, does that relate to dog fouling or something else? Because now that, you know, nights are getting darker, that's a real issue on most streets, in front of hospitals, schools, stations. I don't know how we're going to tackle that, but that is a real antisocial behaviour. The other thing is burglaries, shops, shoplifting. Is that also included in here? Thank you.
So burglaries and shoplifting is a crime. So that is dealt with by the police and not by us, and it's not included in antisocial behaviour. Dog falling itself also not. So the pets and animal antisocial behaviour can be, for example, noise from animals. That is the most common that comes in from pets and animal antisocial behaviour. Or, for example, dogs barking throughout the whole day, whole night. So that's the antisocial behaviour we get for pets and animals. Yeah, and not the dog falling itself.
Any more for any more? No? Can we move on? Yeah? Okay, thank you very much indeed. Thank you very much for coming and presenting. It was most informative. Yeah, and when you actually present it that rather than reading it in a paper, I think it always brings it much more to life, and when people start asking relevant questions, that's really nice. Thank you very much indeed. Thank you. Right, moving on to the neighbourhood community grants. I'm going to try and speed this up a bit, so I'll introduce each one. I hope members have all had a chance to look at them, and rather than you sit there and, you know, say something, I'll get members to ask questions if they have any, and then we can vote on it or debate on it, then vote. And I hope that is acceptable to you. So the first one, sorry? Oh, sorry, I thought I was... The first one is for the New Malden Town Centre Partnership. If those people who want to come to the chair... Yeah, you can go now if you wish, or you can stay and debate. If you want to go now...
Actually, Chair, the Councillor Massimi's declaration of interest was based on a misconception.
Oh, I'm sorry.
This application has nothing to do with Rotary at all.
Well, that's what I didn't understand, but I didn't like to argue the fact.
It's just that Rotary is putting on an event at the same time.
So they can stay.
Yeah, of course they can stay.
Well, I didn't understand that, but thank you for the clarification, Simon. That's very helpful. Which Career Town Foundation?
Councillor Kim's Korean Foundation element, paragraph 12.
Oh, the same one? I don't know.
Let's have a look at it.
I think so.
Well, if just Councillor Kim leaves, are you actually involved in it?
Okay,
Will you leave the room then? And the other two...
I'm sorry.
You haven't got anything to do with that.
This is the New Malden Town Centre Partnership. It's nothing to do with the Career Town Foundation. Nothing whatsoever.
But they've got something I don't know.
They've got something on Saturday.
Yeah, but
the 5th of
they got
October.
something in this event that you're applying for money for.
No.
You can sit down then.
No.
Ralph will know. Can Ralph clarify? Do you know?
Do you know details?
So what are you saying is mentioned that you're confused?
No, there was a mention about the name of the organization, but I don't think there's any conflict of interest with that organization with this matter.
Career Town Foundation has nothing to do with the event on the 20, whatever it is, November. Nothing whatsoever.
Okay, is that clear? Good, excellent. Right, so moving on. So this is to consider an application of £2,600 from New Malden Town Centre Partnership as set out in paragraphs 5 to 14 of the report. So we have the applicants. What?
Sorry, I just noticed that in the report it doesn't mention
Rotary
the
Club.
Club is organised by the Rotary Club.
Can I clarify that because I wrote it?
Oh, yes, please.
Can I explain what's going on there?
Paragraph 9, yeah. Paragraph 9.
Can I do it?
Paragraph 12.
Yeah, Ralph.
Well, he wrote it.
Do you want me to give the whole brief? No?
Know whether Councillor Kim Park and Massimi need to leave the room or not. That's all I want to know.
Chair, I don't believe in this instance.
You don't believe they do? Right. Okay.
And for clarity, Rotary Club organised the first bit, which is the Santa switch on,
Yes.
which leads into the application that we're going to hear now.
Good. Right. Thank you very much. So we're clear on that. So,
Do you have any questions?
do the members have any questions to the applicants? You're nodding your head. Do you have one? Oh, you were nodding. I thought you did. Okay. Sorry. Okay. Good. Anybody like to debate? You have a question? Go for it. Sorry, I didn't see you.
No problem. Thank you, Chair.
This is tedious.
Just in terms of the expenditure, it seems to be split into two columns. You've got the staff cost 1,500, and then there's a number of other costs as well, so some of which seemingly are staff, for instance, a health and safety officer. Is the staff cost something that the Town Centre Partnership is funding aside from this bid, the sort of 1,500 that's listed in row 3?
No, I think the table is a little bit confusing. 1,500 is a total of all the numbers from 100 down to 50, and then there's an extra 300 below that, which makes a total on the subtotal of 1,800.
I understand. Thank you. And sorry, could you also clarify, if you could, the two stilt walkers, just because it seems to be a rather large sum of money for something that, while is nice to have, I'm not sure is a necessity given our severe budgetary constraint.
Yes, I totally understand. So we've tried it 2 years differently. So the first year we had a stilt walker, and the second year we enrolled students from the Brit School to wear costumes that we hired from a local theatre company and do street performances. And what we learnt from both of those different experiences is that by providing the stilt walkers, they act as we had a giant fairy basically with lights all over her, and she took part in the parade. And as you may remember, James, from as a lad, the parade used to be an enormous affair with several different community organisations involved, and it's gradually depleted over the years. And the idea is that the stilt walkers provide different purposes. One is the magic of Christmas, and acting as wayfinders, and we need two, so that one would be at the St George's Square end and one would be at the Jubilee Square end, and that they would be able to take part in the parade as well as be involved in the community. And in regards to the cost, we've taken down our costs by £450 in terms of staff costs on last year, in terms of savings. And so we're hoping that you will be kind to us in that extra 50 quid. That would be the difference in what we've spent last year on staffing costs to put that this year towards the stilt walkers.
Anybody else? No? Good. Okay. So I propose allocation of 2,600 of Neighbourhood Community Grant funding of the new Malden Town Partnership. Do I have a second, please?
Yes, Chair.
Thank you very much. So those in favour of this, please vote now. Those against? And those abstaining? 2. Thank you. That is carried. Thank you very much for coming along.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I'm going to do a different order now because... Is there anybody here from Kingstonian Cricket Club? No? All right. I'll do that one last. The next one will be Families Thriving Together, and I think the lady has come... Yeah? Would you like to come to the desk, please? Thank you. Sorry, I don't know your name, but I do recognise you because I think you came before. Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much, Michelle. It's an application for 1,600 for Families Thriving Together, as set out in paragraphs 21 to 26 of the report. Do members have any questions or comments? Councillor Giles.
Thank you, Chair. I think it's just a point of clarity, if I may. This group has applied for funding in previous years, if I'm not mistaken.
Recognise the lady, yeah.
Last year, yes.
Yeah.
Thank you. I think it's just a comment, really, and I know I sound like a broken record, but whilst I think the aims of this and other projects that come back to us each year are admirable, we're at a point where, if we approve everything this evening, we'll have less than £3,000 remaining for the rest of the financial year. And obviously, we're not even halfway through yet. And that's the vast majority of our £20,000 fund. And so I think my only concern isn't the project. I think the project is great. But my only concern is that the grants are increasingly, seemingly being used as a way to plug what would otherwise be, I would consider, a sort of ongoing expenditure, an ongoing concern.
Would you like to respond to that, Michelle?
Yes, of course. Yeah, all I can say is that our programmes, the programme that we run for New and Old Malden previously, we tend to hope for around 20 people. We had 27, and we have a waiting list of probably way double than that at the moment, and that's without any further advertisements or reaching out to any agencies, schools, community services, all the services that we do. So I do understand what you're saying, but we are a charity and we're bound by gaining funding. We don't get any statutory funding, so if we don't have the funding, we can't deliver the services. Sorry, I've got a little bit of a frog in my throat. There isn't really any right answer. I understand that, and we have this with quite a lot because we deliver in different boroughs and different areas, but it's just a constant need for services. And we do aim to normalise these programmes, and we feel very passionate that they should be open to everybody. We know that some statutory services can provide limited amount of programmes, but only for limited amount of people. So it's a passion for us, and we have the need.
Can I have Councillor Durrant, then you, and then I have a question if they don't ask one of the ones I have.
Can I just add my support to this proposal, because basically young people's mental health has been decimated by the previous government, and therefore if we can help even in just a small way, I think this is a very worthy thing, and we should definitely be supporting it. Thank you.
Thank you for your support.
Councillor Giles, and then I have a question myself.
Thank you. I mean, it's just a follow-up comment, really, if I may, on this, to say that I am minded to support it, and I hope you appreciate I meant nothing by the great work that your organisation does. And I think one of the key things for me is, as members will know, before the committee, I wrote to all of the applicants and asked them to come along to be able to answer questions, and I'm grateful that you've taken the time, so thank you very much.
Of course.
Thank you, Councillor Giles. This is just really for my own curiosity. How long is the session?
We run them for an hour and a half each week. Over 4 weeks.
Over 4 weeks. And how many families are on the programme?
So
For this amount of money?
We usually get about 20, but the last time we had money from you guys, we had 27.
Okay, thank you
So
very
we
much.
exceeded the expectations, basically.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you very much indeed for that. Before we go to a vote, so proposed allocation of 1,600 for families thriving together, as set out in paragraphs 21 to 26. Do I have a seconder, please?
I second that, Chair.
Thank you very much. Those in favour of this application, please raise your hands. -1. Those against? None. And abstain? 1. Thank you very much. And thank you very much for coming along this evening. Sorry you had to wait so long for your
No problem, thank you.
slot, so to
fine.
speak. Thanks, Michelle.
Thank you.
Right, and next I'm going to take New Malden Residents Association or Friends of Beeline Way, if you'd like to come forward. Thank you, if I can find my thing. This is the 3,000. Oh, sorry, 2,000. Which one is? Oh, right, I'm here now. Good evening, Natalie. How are you?
I'm well, thank you.
Good. Okay, so this is for an allocation of £2,000 to Friends of Beeline Way, as set out in paragraphs 27 to 32 of the report. So, hopefully everybody's au fait with this. Any questions, please? Councillor Giles and then Councillor Massimi. Thank you.
Thank you, and thanks for coming, Natalie. I just wondered, largely out of personal curiosity, where the difference of 101.10 is coming from.
So there's a slight change to some of the details on here. That was for the cost of new benches, and that's how much they cost. But what we've since discovered is the benches were originally built, One-to-One Collective originally built the benches, and they found some spare parts. So instead of buying a new bench, we're now going to use those spare parts, patch up the what's wrong with the benches. The cost is going to be for setting the base. The benches were just put on the soil, and as the soil's moved, the benches have twisted and broken. They've lasted 5 years, so not too bad. So instead of it being that set 2101 for new benches, we're going to try and patch up what we've got. They've got some wood. A lot of them, the wood's rotted away. I don't think it was treated properly. So this time round, we'll try and get that done as well.
And if I may, Madam Chair, does the figure that's being applied for remain at £2,000?
Still, yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
It's four benches. One's in a particular bad state. The other one's not quite so bad, but they all need some work done to them.
Thank you very much. Councillor Massimi and then Councillor Kim.
Thank you, Chair. Yes, I have a question. I'm not fully familiar with the exact scheme. This is more for the New Malden councillor in terms of who manage this, which I think is an old or still a Thames Water land. But is there not a way to use, like in other scheme, funding for the maintenance programs or the highway programs or some of the TfL money, which you can argue is part of cycling, it's part of greener as well, as part of a scheme for the maintenance of those, urban furniture? Is it not a better route and maybe one with deeper pocket than the neighbourhood grant? Because surely this is part of maintenance, even if it might not fall directly onto highway. Could be borderline green space, park, I don't know, but surely the council here, I know it's also, budget is not as generous as it might used to be, but why not using council first rather than neighbourhood?
I'm afraid I don't have an answer to that. I don't know if Ralph has any clue, but I'm imagining that it's not in the budgets, the council budgets for that, because...
Chair, I believe that the actual land that the bench is on aren't the council's to maintain.
It's an unknown. It's unclear.
had a feeling it wasn't council land.
It's Thames Water Land.
Yes.
There's some maintenance agreement with the council, but no one seems to know what that actually is.
Allow me to jump in. We, I believe, did the tarmac, surfacing, cleaning, signage, marking. We do everything. So it's.
Excuse me, that came from Go Cycle, the Go Cycle campaign.
Well, yeah, we Go Cycle, which is a TfL funded scheme, correct?
Yeah.
Okay, so that.
But
goes
once
back
the
to
project is done, that's it. As
Well-
far as I'm aware, I don't know. That's
Well,
correct, isn't it? Yeah.
They put the infrastructure in.
And then you're on your own, I think. Yeah. Unfortunately. Robert, did you have a question?
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Natalie. Yeah, I fully support this idea to improve our environment and ecosystem in our world. I have one resident in New Malden who expressed some willingness to donate some money into this area, make it better and beautiful. So shall I arrange some meeting with you?
Yeah. Yes.
After the meeting?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Speak up now or forever hold thy peace, yeah. All donations greatly received, hey?
Yes.
Thank
That's
you very much.
fantastic. Yeah. Thank you, Councillor Kim. Right, okay. Oh, Councillor Giles.
Thank you. So just a comment, if I may. And that's a terrific offer. I think anyone would buy Councillor Kim's hand off in this climate. But look, I mean, ultimately, this is an area that isn't maintained in the ordinary schedule of works. And I think that, you know, Natalie and all of your volunteers, you do a stellar job in maintaining a site that otherwise runs the risk of becoming quite unruly. And I don't think it's an easy one. So thank you for all that you and your colleagues do. And I hope that everyone would agree that this one really is a no-brainer. Thank you, Chair.
Yeah, thank you. Just to add that the greenery on either side, that is kept trimmed by the council, I believe. Yes. The big hedgerow stuff is maintained.
On the whole path.
Yeah, because somebody came
Yeah.
to me and said, why isn't it being done? But it is done periodically, just to... Yeah.
We try and keep it cut back. We do check it.
Yeah.
Because there's a
But
few...
Glendale do some of that.
are
Yeah.
contracted to it. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so the proposed allocation of 2,000 to Friends of Beeline Way. Do I have a seconder?
You do, Chair.
Thank you very much. Those in favour, please raise your hands.
Unanimous, Chair.
Unanimous. Thank you very much indeed. Thank you for
you.
coming along. I'm
Thank
sorry
you.
you all had to wait so long, but the first item was pretty important. Yeah, important's the right word. Yeah, thank you very much indeed. Thank you. And sorry we took so much of your evening. Yeah, I'm going to go to that now. Give me a chance. Flipping heck. Sorry. Must be a good telly night. No, I'm only joking. Right, okay, so the last one, which I've taken it down, is the allocation of 3,000 of community grant to the Kingstonian Cricket Club, who I believe aren't here tonight. And this was deferred from last time. So it's up to you, members. Do we defer it again in the hope they come again, or do you want to have a vote on it? Should we have a vote?
Yep.
Okay, anybody want to make any comments about it? Councillor Durrant was first, and then Councillor Giles and Councillor Tracy. Thank you.
I'm afraid to say I think that anybody who would like to receive a grant from this committee should have the common courtesy to turn up to the committee, and to not turn up twice, I'm minded to vote against.
You, Councillor Giles, and then Councillor Tracy.
Well, look, this cricket club plays at the Windsor Avenue grounds, and so in our councillor ward funding, Councillor Tracy and I collectively gave £1,500 for new cricket nets. But I'm in full agreement with Councillor Durrant. I think it's discourteous to this committee that even when explicitly asked to attend, they still do not.
Thank you. Councillor Tracy.
Well, actually, both councillors have just said what I was going to say. I think if they can't be bothered to turn up, and you have written and said, if you don't turn up this time, people will look not very favourably on it, and they still haven't turned up. So
we will go to a vote on this application. Yeah. Okay, so the application is for 3,000 of neighbourhood grant to Kingstonian Cricket Club. Can I have a seconder for that? Thank you. Thank you. Pardon?
You're proposing that you...
We're going to vote on it.
You were just voting on it.
Yeah, I'm going to let people vote on it, yeah. So those in favour? Those against?
So that's 11, 10.
1, yeah. And those abstaining? 1. Thank you very much indeed. And now to the Neighbourhood Managers Report, item 10 on the agenda. Sorry you've had to wait so long, Ron. Thank you very much indeed.
As I've had to wait so long, you're going to get the long version.
Is that the 3-minute version?
In the interest of, I've got droopy eyes and it is rather late tonight, I'll keep it very brief. The Rangers update for August and September, in line with tonight's topic. Jackie completed 17 litter picks and 17 small fly tipping removals as she continues to work hard on that. I've already covered the WISE contract during the other. It's just to update you about APCOA have now taken over the parking enforcement within the borough. So if you have any, I was going to say about WISE, the environmental enforcement and the parking, if you have any issues around that, please come to me, because obviously my previous experience lies in both camps. So I can give you an honest answer and also assist in linking up with them. And I'd just like to finish on a note, and please excuse my pronunciation, the Hallyu, or Korean Wave Festival. Huh? Thank you. Butchered that one. Is taking place on the 5th of October at Jubilee Square, 11 a.m. to 4 p.m. And I think it's going to be a very good time. I'm going to pop along for an hour at least. And I hope to see you there. And that's my update, Chair. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And also thank you for answering and addressing the questions on the enforcement tonight and helping out Steph and Lineker for that. Your help was invaluable tonight, so thank you very much for that.
Thank you, Chair.
There are no urgent items this evening by the Chair, so I close this meeting at 9:55. Thank you very much indeed. Thank you, everybody, for coming, and thank you, everyone, for your input. Thank you. Good night.